All right, welcome everyone to get to know your Rossier resources. We're so excited to have you here, either in live or in the recording. So we're going to do a few introductions, then we'll share a little bit about RSOC as an organization, and then also what this event is hoping to do for you today. So to kick it off, my name is Ailene Huang. I'm a second year student in the educational counseling program at Rossier, and I'm the professional development chair of RSOC in this year. So I'm really excited about this role and this event, because I know that USC has a lot of great resources to offer and has a really big network. But sometimes I also know it's very hard to figure out what exactly those things are and how to get connected to them. So hopefully this is a very informative space for you for wherever you are at in your Rossier journey right now. So I will pass it on to Nare.
Thank you, Ailene, and thank you for organizing this great event. My name is Nare Khodadadians, and I'm the Career Services Specialist here at Rossier School of Education. I'm also a Rossier alum from the LDT program. So I'm really happy to be here and work with you wherever you are in your professional development journey. I'm fortunate here to have been working with my supervisor, Matt, and also the Director of Alumni Engagement. So I'm gonna pass it on to him.
Thank you, Nare and Ailene. My name is Matt DeGrush. As Nare said, I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement here at Rossier. I've been in this role for 8 years. I've worked at the university for 20. So what I'm here to do today is to really help you understand how to navigate the Trojan network. I've done this with students at 3 different schools within USC, but Rossier is home for me. I am a graduate of the PASA program. We won't talk about what year, it was a long time ago. But so doing alumni engagement at Rossier is definitely a passion of mine, because you are my people. We are all education, both students or alums now, but so I'll be back a little bit later and give you some tips and tricks for finding Trojans and to help you build that network. And then I think Danielle is going to introduce herself. Is that right?
She was, but she got called into something for a little bit. So just to introduce Danielle for you, she is the RSOC president. And so she is gracing us with her presence today for the most part. So a little bit about RSOC, just so that it's, you're familiar with it, you can share the news. The Rossier Student Organization Council, its mission is to explore and promote academic issues and support a feeling of collegiality and community in the Rossier community. So it's concerned about the well-being and the experiences of all Rossier students and the programs. So our programs and events throughout the academic year is to meet the various needs of all these varying students in the various programs. And as the professional development chair, I'm focused on curating events that help you connect to resources specifically to Rossier or USC, and things that pertain to your career exploration, connecting with the Trojan family, kind of hopefully a one-stop shop to direct you to where you need to go, and also understanding the institution that you're at. So that's really part of the purpose of this event, is to become familiar, as Nare and Matt had just shared, and really hoping this will help you with your job search and as well as connecting to this very large Trojan family that we are all part of. So really think of this event as like an appetizer. You're going to get some information, and there's always a lot more to learn. And Nare and Matt are always people you can connect with outside of this space. So, keep note of your questions. We'll have a Q&A portion towards the end. You can always drop it in the chat, and we'll get to it at the end. And I'll also drop in the chat like a handout that has all of our contact information and also the links that Nare and Matt will go through today. So with that, I'll pass it on to Nare to get us started.
Great, thank you, Ailene. So what I'm gonna do today, I'm gonna quickly go through all of the career services resources that is available through Rossier, and also introduce some that are available through the Rossier Career Center. I'm gonna quickly share my screen. So this is kind of an e-course or e-platform, an online resource that's available to you that goes over everything that we offer. So I'm going to go through all of them really quickly so that you're familiar with the name, what the platform is, what it does, and also what is how you can reach out to me if you have any questions regarding this particular resource. So this is how you operate it, and these are the modules that introduce every single resource. The first and foremost is Connect Rossier. That is our online career management system, the internal platform that all the jobs are posted. And this is what the snapshot of what it would look like. All the jobs are posted here because recruiters want to recruit from our students, and these are mostly relevant to the education. However, if you want to access other jobs that are not relevant to education and you want to see the broad scope of what is posted out there for USC in general, you can also get connected to the USC General Career Services, or Connect SC, which is the larger job post platform. The next one, which I'm going to leave for Matt to explore and explain to you, is the Career Network, which is mostly for networking purposes, but Matt will go over it in much greater detail, and it's a great resource. The third one that I want to talk to you about is the Career Management 101 module, which is an online directory or kind of platform of resources for you to know how to create a resume, how to start your job search strategies, your cover letter, interview, and networking. This is the link here that you're going to go to that website, and it'll guide you through all of those resources step by step. Minding you that this is a very rudimentary resource, and it's just going to get you started, and it may not be as education specific or major specific as you may expect. However, you can always connect with me and ask questions regarding where you are in your career journey, or if you have any specific questions regarding your particular situation or job application or any other questions. But this is a great starting point if you want to figure out where do I want to start with any of these stages or documents. The other one, the other resource that I want you to really be aware of and utilize is the individual appointments that you can make with me through the Calendly resources. There are different portions of appointment, different types of appointments. General, if you want to just talk to me about where you are in your career and where you want to go, and we can strategize your career development plan. The other ones are shorter and more targeted to specific subjects, such as resume reviews, interview preps, LinkedIn, and job search strategies. And if there is anything that you want to talk to me about and it's not categorized, you can always make an appointment under the general career services appointment. If you cannot find any time that works for you, I'm always happy to accommodate. So please feel free to reach out to me through my email as well. I also partner with the academic departments like PASA, EC, and LDT, and we do a lot of themed workshops based on student needs. So you will be hearing from your academic advisors based on what's available that year or that semester. But what is important is that you take a proactive approach in your career search and find out what are some of the resources that you need, or what is it that you specifically need help with, so that you can reach out to me or Matt so that we can put you towards the right direction. We are here to help you, but please feel free to reach out and take the steps that you need proactively to be able to get to the career goal that you've set up. With that being said, I'm going to pass this on to Matt to discuss more about the specifics of networking and the networking platform at Rossier.
Great, thanks, Nare. So, as I mentioned before, what I'm really here, excited to be here too, to give you some tips and strategies on how to connect with the Trojan network. I know so many students come to USC, they choose USC because of our network. The Trojan family is known for enthusiastically supporting one another in their professional endeavors. So I think sometimes the challenge is, though, how do you tap into that network? And especially as a student, sometimes it's a little bit easier as an alum, but it is certainly, there are a lot of different resources that can help you identify those alums that you may want to reach out to. And I think that's the key here. There's no sort of place you just go and all the alums are there ready to just help you. You do have to be very proactive, but also know that there are alums out there who are waiting for students to contact them. And so what I'm going to review today are just 2 resources to help you identify those. But before I do, just want to kind of give you some scope to the Trojan family. So overall, the USC Alumni Network, anyone who is a degreed alum, numbers over 450,000. So, and if we break that down to Rossier alumni, that's 28,000. So, you're part of a very large network, or large family, as we like to call the Trojan family. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. It's going to look familiar because I'm going to pick up right where Nare left off. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the USC Rossier Career Network. It's also, we call it People Grove. That is the platform that it's based on. If any of you, maybe in your undergrad, were at an institution that used People Grove, it will look very similar. We introduced this in 2017. We were actually one of People Grove's first clients, so we've learned along with them. And I'm just going to scroll down here so you can see all the different things that you can do on the platform. What I'm really going to focus in on right now, because I could do a whole session on this, but I want to focus in on how you use it to find alumni and find people to connect with. We are approaching close to 3,000 members on the platform. Now you're probably saying, but wait, Matt, you just said there's 28,000 alums. Why are there only 3,000 people on here? This is an opt-in network. And that is, if you think of it as an opt-in network, it means everyone that's on here has opted in and they want to help. So you're not looking at the whole 28,000 and wondering, if I reach out to that person, are they willing to help me? The people who opt in to be on the USC Rossier Career Network are on there because they want to network and they want to mentor. So, and I'll talk, and you'll see in a moment how you can learn even more about how they want to network and how they want to mentor one another. So signing up is pretty easy. Joining as a student, you don't have to remember another username or password. You can just use your net ID. That is a screenshot of the home screen, and you just see the cardinal colored box is where students sign up. And then you'll be taken through the sign up process to basically build a profile of your education and your work experience. And it's important that you spend the time doing that, because this is how other people will learn more about you, and people may actually reach out to you for networking as well. So I want to talk about how you find your network. And this is probably one of the best features right here. This is an actual screenshot of map view. If you see up here, there's 2 views up here. There's map view, and then there's card view. Card view will show you individual profiles, like a photo of someone with their name and a few key information about them, and then you click on it to see more. Map view is really interesting, especially if you are looking for alumni in another part. Obviously, this number is pretty high here in California. But if you're looking on the East Coast in New York or DC, you can pull up this map and just start zooming into it and then clicking on one of these numbers to see who are the alums in that area. It's a really powerful feature, I think. So that is one way to search, but I'm going to go through sort of this top search bar with you just to get you to understand how you can sort of drill down your searching as well. So the first part of the search bar is, your general text search. So if maybe someone's name, or maybe you're looking for someone who works at a particular employer, school district, university, that's where you would use the search box. That's going to be a text-based search. So pretty self-explanatory. We use those all the time, right? And then location, again, you'll be able to type in a location if you're not using the map feature. You can type in a location, and you can use a number of these things all together to do a very drilled down search. The majors, we've actually have it listed by degree programs. So, since we're not undergrads and we don't have specific majors, we're really based on like what program you're in. So you'll be able to select things like Masters of Arts in Teaching, Learning, Design, and Technology, Organizational Change and Leadership. So that'll, again, narrow your search down to alumni and students who are in those particular programs. Same thing for industries. When we created the Rossier Career Network, it came with industries that were just education. We've drilled down and created, as you can see from this list, very specific parts of the education sector. So again, if you're looking for someone who works in higher ed administration or someone who works in educational consulting, this again is how you're going to be able to narrow that search down. So you have the industries, and then more filters. There's this additional specification criteria, and this is really neat. I like this one. So if you go, when you're on the system, and I'm going to take you there in just a minute, under additional attributes, there are self-selected attributes that people indicate, such as if they're a first-generation college student, if they were an international student while they were at USC, if they are LGBT, and also veteran status. So it's another way to really, again, hone in your search, and especially when you're mentoring and looking or networking or looking for mentors, really looking for people who you have commonalities with. And this system really helps you, again, sort of, if you use all the search criteria that I just mentioned, really be able to find someone who matches that criteria. There's also something up here called Help Topic. And when alumni sign up for this platform, they're asked, how would they like to help? And there are things like resume review, mock interviews, networking, informational interviews. Do they want to talk to people about, if people are considering applying for a doctorate degree, work-life balance, being involved with professional associations, all those sorts of things. So again, just another way to narrow down when you're, a lot of times, again, like when there's so many people out there, even 3,000, trying to figure out the people who match what you're looking for the most and are also interested in helping you. These are all things that really help you. That's what the platform is designed to do. It's not just a list of names and you're guessing whether or not someone is interested in mentoring a student and if they have the appropriate background. Like, you can know if someone was a first-generation college student who wants to help people with resume reviews right here. So when you finally arrive at that person on the platform, you should feel pretty comfortable about reaching out to them about, connecting with them and asking for their assistance. So I'm going to switch over now to, this is what the Rossier Career Network looks like when you're logged in. This is the home page. It gives you like suggestions of people to connect with. I'm going to click over here onto network, and we're going to be in card view, not map view, because it defaults to card view. And of course, it's taking longer than it normally takes. So this is an interesting feature up here. People who are online now or have been recently online. I like that one because it, indicates people who are active on the platform. And then it'll make some suggestions based on groups or the degree that that you have. And then you can click on any of these. So I'll click on Alex here and her profile will come up. And so we can see her here that she's a 2017 grad. She actually works here at Rossier in the PhD office. So I have all of her work experience. She was actually my intern from 2015 to 2017. And she did her PASA degree. So here's with help topic. She is willing to help people with job shadowing, mock interviews, networking, informational interviews, resume reviews, her industries. And so that's kind of when you look at someone's profile, what you find out. But what I also want to do is kind of show you how powerful this search feature is. So let's go back here and say, Rossier degree programs. I want to find someone who is working on a master's degree, let's just say, and then their major. Let's see if this pops up for me or not. All right, I'm going to skip major for a minute. I'm going to go to more filters. I'm going to go to industry, because another key thing to think about too, like not just with majors, a lot of our majors. So like I'll use PASA as an example, higher ed administration. We have people in a lot of different programs who would fall under the industry of higher ed. So you don't necessarily want to limit your searching just to people in a PASA program or the EC program. So I'm going to select higher ed administration. And then I'm going to go to, where are my additional attributes? Anyway, there should be, I don't know, Nare, do you know why it's not? Like usually there's you're able to search by those additional attributes that I spent lots of time telling you how wonderful they were.
Is it because it's in card, or does that matter if it's in card
Really,
view?
it matters if it's in card view.
No.
Let me switch to map view and see. More filters. Oh, I know, sorry. I was in industries, it's all under here. So now if I go under, let's say additional attributes first, and I want somebody, who is a first generation college student like me. So I'm going to put that in there. And then help topic, I really want someone who's going to do some networking and informational interviewing. So I got that in there. So now I'm going to apply all those attributes, the master's degree, the higher ed. So there are, I'm going to go back to card view. These are the people who came up. So there's Alex again. So now like I can say like, oh, Alex would be great to connect with because she was first gen. She works in higher ed and she's willing to help with networking. So again, that's just really a quick way to show you how to search and really narrow it down. But obviously, you can play around and really, take a look at all the different people who are on this network. And then once you've found somebody, you can click on the Let's Connect and send a message to Alex. And there's actually templates in here to get you started. So if you have writer's block, like you want to expand your network, and then you can edit those and send those out. And it goes directly to Alex's email. She doesn't have to log into the system to read the email. It will go directly to her and she can respond to it. So you're going to reach out. You can also use it to request a meeting, and the meeting can be a video conference that can actually happen within the platform. So there's a lot going on here. I really just wanted to focus in on how to find people, but we have a lot of resources that help you understand how to do all this other stuff that's happening on the platform. So, and again, I'm happy to answer questions about this. But I know with time, I want to make sure, we leave time for questions as well. So what I want to talk about next is LinkedIn. LinkedIn obviously is more of a public platform. but there are USC groups and pages within LinkedIn that have that power to do searching. And so I'm going to share with you 2 of those. And I really encourage all of you, if you are not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. It is such an important resource in terms of finding people, people finding you, staying connected with people. So definitely, if you're not on there, you want to be on there, because even recruiters are looking for people when they're doing hiring. They want to, like, they'll do searches for people that way and may reach out to you. And again, there's, do a whole nother workshop on LinkedIn on how to create a profile and all of that. But what I want to talk about right now is how you find alumni. So I'm going to go over 2 LinkedIn pages. The first one is the USC Rossier School of Education page, and the other one will be the University of Southern California pages. These are university pages, and when you go to them, so I'm just going to click over to this tab. So this is our USC Rossier page. And when you look down here, you'll see it says alumni. So when I click on that, it's going to take a minute to load, but there are 1,563 alumni on LinkedIn. Again, this is only going to be people who are on LinkedIn. And then on top of it, people who, when they list their degree, list the USC Rossier School of Education as their institution. Some people choose to list just the University of Southern California, and that's why I'm going to show you that page in a minute. But right now we're in the USC Rossier School of Education page. We see there's 1,563 alums. You can search them, all their people, all of them are going to be down here. I mean, we don't want to look at all 1,500 right now. That's a little overwhelming. But you see here, there's different things that you can see: where they live, where they work, what they do, what they studied, what are they skilled at, and how are you connected? Are they a first connection, a second connection, or a third connection? So let's just say you're interested in finding alums in the San Francisco Bay Area. All right, we've just dropped down to 116. If you really want to be specific about where they work, I generally more, what do they do? Or what did they study? Like, if you want to find people who, like, if are in the organizational, leadership program, or they work in education. So let's say working in education, and you're just going to keep narrowing it down more and more. So eventually, when you have it narrowed down, then you scroll down here and then you see the results. And then, okay, I can click on Roxanne Fuentes and see more about her and see that she's a superintendent at Berryessa Union School District in San Jose. At this point, I'm connected with her already, but if you weren't, you could connect with her. Whenever you connect with someone on LinkedIn, you have the ability to send them a short message just explaining who you are and why you want to connect. I highly recommend that, just because sometimes people wonder why someone may be connecting with them. You could also send a message, but be careful, messages are limited. If you don't have a premium LinkedIn account, you'll have a limited number of messages. So if you plan to send messages, you're going to have to be a little more strategic. There's so much you can do on LinkedIn without a premium account. So, you don't necessarily need to get that premium account. But, it's typical LinkedIn. I can scroll down and see all of her experience and her education. And this is really helpful just to learn more about her. And again, when I want to make that connection with her. So I'm just going to back in again. And so again, that's where you're just going to see all of these people. And again, you have that search criteria up here as well. And then you can always just clear it out. So the same thing happens at the USC page, except it's much bigger. So if I click on alumni on the USC page, you're going to see 331,526 alumni. This is for all schools and programs. So it's a little unwieldy. We go back to our San Francisco Bay Area search. All of a sudden now there's 32,000 people. So here's where you're going to really want to, what they do, what they studied. Maybe you want to see if people studied education. And if it doesn't show up, then you might want to go to this 1,881 people who are working in education. Now it refreshes. And then what they studied, now there's 97 people. But then be careful, because if you look down a little bit more, oh, there's elementary education and teaching, secondary education and teaching, educational leadership. So it's not just education itself. So, and then let's be curious if there's anything else interesting, what they're skilled at. You know, again, if you're really looking for somebody who's, curriculum development, like that's one way to do that. Let's just say we're looking for people, I'm always big on trying to narrow it down just because, again, it can be a little unwieldy. Let's just say educational leadership. So we've got our 71 alums. And again, you go down here, same thing. You can click on them. I'm not connected to Maria. I can click here and connect with her if I find her profile interesting. So again, you can just look at the sheer numbers of people who are on LinkedIn. That's why you should be on there. And these tools that now exist in terms of, this is USC and this is Rossier, and I know we're talking about how you're tapping into the Trojan network, but everybody comes from undergraduate institutions and other institutions. You also have the same feature on LinkedIn for those schools as well. So just giving you a general networking tip, but for USC, for Trojan networking, the USC Rossier Career Network and LinkedIn are my two go-to resources in terms of identifying alums. And I hope that made sense. And I hope you're excited about these resources. Exciting part is finding the people. I know the daunting part is reaching out, connecting. And that's where Nare and I can come in and help you. Like, you found someone you want to connect with. Now what? Like, how do I reach out to them? Or they've agreed to meet with me. Now what do I say? Like, what questions do I ask? Because I will tell you, Trojans always want to help Trojans, and you will get a response from people you reach out to, and they want to help you. And so you want to just make sure that you maximize that connection and that opportunity. And again, we have resources to help you with that. And we're also available to help answer any questions and help you navigate that next step of, we've talked about how to identify the people, but then the next step is the reaching out and making that meaningful connection. And so with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Ailene and stop sharing.
Thank you so much. I definitely can tell you are excited about those resources, and it makes me more excited about those resources. And I'll definitely have to click through them and check it out. If there are any questions for Nare or for Matt, feel free to unmute yourself. Also, feel free to put it in the chat. It can be anything about what they've just shared, or even more about their role, or anything else that you have on your mind. And while you think, I will pull up some of my own questions. So one of the questions I have, will direct to Nare first, is of the various resources that you have, like students can book you to go over their resume or their cover letter or do mock interviews. I know you have like a bunch of things that they can reach out to you for. What have been the ones that you've seen to, I don't know, to be most helpful for students, or the ones that they tend to draw on the most? Or like, how many sessions has been helpful in one of those resources that you offer?
That's a really good question, and it really varies, but usually students reach out to me for resumes or interviews because there's an immediate need for help, right? Either they have to apply for a job because they need their resume polished, or they already got an interview and they really need to polish on their interview skills, and the interview is probably in like next 2 days. However, this interview kind of brings up a point that career preparation isn't a last second attempt, and it has to come in series of appointments to figure out where they are in their career, where they want to go, And how do they get there? By incrementally implementing some strategies. And once they come in and they figure out they can't get their resume as polished as they want to in like 30 minutes, that's when they realize, well, I need to make more appointments. My resume needs more work than I thought. Then there is cover letter. Then there are, research that I have to do about the organization and about, why I applied for this role. Why am I a good fit? So it always starts with an immediate need, but usually they realize that this could be an ongoing development. So that's something that I have realized that works for most students. But again, I always emphasize the proactive approach to career development. I will work with them as much as they are actively engaging and wanting to work and develop.
Good to know. Thank you. Maybe I see in the chat for Jennifer that she has a question, and maybe prior to that, in general, Matt, what have students and alumni traditionally reached out to you for? Like, what are the most common questions that you're seeing, most common like support that you need to extend?
I think it's a lot of what I've been talking about, which is, people wanting to know how they can access the Trojan network. They came here, they've heard about the legendary Trojan network, and they just haven't been able to tap into it. So oftentimes they will reach out to me, to learn more about some of the things I just covered, or maybe sometimes even just to pick my brain. Like, I've been here, for 8 years. And so, I've gotten to know a lot of alums over the course of time, whether it be through meetings or having them on panels and meeting them at events. So, sometimes people take advantage of that and just say like, hey, like, do you know anyone? And sometimes I can just do some of these quick searches and like all of a sudden a name pops up, like, Roxanne did when I did the search. And to be able to make that connection for people, sometimes people feel more comfortable with that, because I'm always like, feel free to use my name. Like, if you want to say like, I was talking to Matt and he said, I should reach out to you, Roxanne, like, so, but most people, when they reach out to me, from like a career standpoint, like it is about how they can tap into the Trojan network. I'm like Grand Central for any question from alum, like how do I get a transcript to all those sorts of things. But, in the context of what we're talking about today, I do get a lot of, questions about how to find people. And then like I was mentioning at the very tail end, like, okay, so you gave me some names, now what? Like, how do I, make it a connection that, because I think a lot of people are hesitant to reach out because they feel like they're a burden, that the alums, are going to be bothered by them reaching out, when it couldn't be any further from the truth. Most people, are flattered when somebody has found their name and thinks that they can add value to their job search. I always say, like, for informational interviews, like when you're asking someone to do an informational interview with you, you seem like, oh my God, I'm putting them out. But really what you're asking that person to do is to, talk about themselves and to give advice. And like, who doesn't like to do that? Like, you're not asking them to like, prepare a report on the, the state of their industry or whatever. It's really just, what's your history? How did you get to where you are today? And what advice would you give to someone who's starting out their career, who wants to follow along a similar path? People, like I said, people are flattered, and also people really just want to help. So I'm always encouraging people, don't be shy, reach out, because the alums are very receptive to that outreach.
Thank you for that clarification. Jennifer, would you like to ask your question? You're welcome to if you feel comfortable doing so.
I could, yeah, sure. So I've been, I'd like to find like USC alumni that have gone through specific doctorate programs at specific schools. And I've tried to do this on LinkedIn. I've reached out to some of my, like the curriculum coordinator, Dr. Benuelos, but haven't had much luck. And maybe I wasn't using LinkedIn that correctly after watching your presentation, but do you have any advice on how to do this? Because it's like really trying to pinpoint like a very specific person.
So you're trying to find USC alums who have done like a doctoral degree program at another institution, but they have the Trojan tie. Yeah, so that's definitely, it can be done. It's tricky, like, you know, so you have to, you might be able to do it within the that USC page I showed you, with the 300,000 alums. You could put in a keyword for the other institution that you're looking for, and that might narrow down the research results based on, because you already know everybody on that page when you're searching is a USC graduate. So then by using that page and using the search feature within that page, putting the names of the other institutions in there, you might be able to find it that way. What they studied, I feel like what they studied sometimes isn't just what they studied at USC, it's what they've studied in their education history. So you may also be able to, you know, put in the name of the degree program. If it's just like, you know, like I know we have like organizational change, like you might also be able to find that under that drop down list of what they studied when you're narrowing down your search. So those might be two ways to do it, but yeah, it's a very sort of specific search. It's not impossible, but it's definitely like a lot of like trial and error and like pulling up profiles and being like, oh yeah, that one, you know, even though it came up in the search result, doesn't actually meet what I want. And so that's where it can get tricky. Same thing you could do is go to those schools that you're looking at, those doctoral degree programs, go to their LinkedIn pages and their alumni directories, and then maybe do a search that way. Now you know who's maybe got that degree from there, they're an alum, and then maybe you can backtrack and find some Trojans within that. So that would be my advice. It's just, like I said, it's not super easy. It's not like, okay, they're, you know, USC alum and they live in the Bay Area, like 2 clicks and you've got a super long list, but at least, you know, you've got that. But I think those might be some ways that you can kind of, you know, set up your search to hopefully find those people.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions that come to mind for Nare and Matt? One question that I have that jumps a little ahead, but I know that some programs are only 1 year, 2 years, and people are becoming alumni themselves very quickly. So in that, what maybe like, are they still able to reach out to both of you after they become alumni? How does their access to people growth change? All of the things that you've just shared, like what maybe changes can a new alumni be aware of?
Yeah, there's, you know, people grow changes in that instead of being a student, you're an alum now in so when people pull up your profile, you'll be an alum, but it's still, the system looks exactly the same. You have the same access. That's the great thing about like the student and alumni, the way we set it up, because we're all graduate students within Rossier. whereas the USC People Growth system limits what students can do in terms of like seeing, like we have it set up so that students can see other students, because there's a huge networking opportunity there in graduate programs from student to student networking that you don't necessarily see at the undergraduate level. But you know, your People Growth status, it's all stays the same. You know, reaching out to us, it's same thing. Like, I mean, actually, you know, I deal more with alumni than I do with students, but I'm receptive to, you know, anyone reaching out to me, but I generally get more alumni reaching out to me based on my title. And also too, like when you're a student, you have different points of contact while you're here, from program offices to people like Nare and career services. When people become alums, they feel like I'm like that's why I mentioned like I'm sort of Grand Central Station. Like they call me first, and then, you know, I can't tell you how many like calls I get, and most of them don't expect me to help them with like people from our masters in teaching with credentialing questions. Like I don't know the first thing about that, but I know the people that they need to get in touch with. And so like I facilitate a lot of that. So, you know, as a resource, I'm definitely like, you know, oftentimes the first point of contact. And I know, Nare, you work a lot with alumni still on their career search, especially recent grads, because it's not like, okay, you graduated, you're an alum, like this is just a student service. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about what your experience has been working with our alums.
So sometimes I start working with our students and continue to work with them as they become new graduates, and sometimes they come back after a while and they want to check in with me to see where they want to go after 4 years, 3 years of, you know, doing the work that they have been doing. So your access to my calendar or career services does not expire when you become an alumni. And yes, I've been working with a lot of recent graduates, and that's where the bulk of my work technically is. And the one resource that you will always have access to all of the resources except for Connect Rossier, that you need to recreate an account as an alumni with a non-USC email. That's when access to that platform changes, and because your status has changed. But again, the access remains the same. The access to events, to job postings, and recruiters, and everything else remains the same.
That's really good to know. I'm sure people will really appreciate that. So I think a lot of times we can think that we just lose access to everything once that like a whole different set of opportunities or things that we have access to changes when we become alumni, but it sounds like for the most part it doesn't. And if anything, they can reach out to both of you and be directed to like how to set things up or get connected, which is great.
Yes, that's definitely how it works. So it's always, you know, it's continuation of being a student, now an alum, and we want them to be connected to the university and not feel like they don't have the support to progress with their career, because now they got their education, but we want to see them as professionals in the field. So they get all the support that they need to do that and move forward. And, you know, as they have done that, they always come back and help out other students along the way. That's a, you know, a great feature of Rossier Alumni that I have seen over and over again.
Yeah, because we found, you know, too, like, you know, students are busy, like, you know, especially in a one-year program too, like just trying to complete all the requirements for their classes and for their degree. And a lot of times don't think about the things that we covered today until it's like right before graduation. So as much as we encourage people to think about it earlier, and I know Nare has been really proactive about being in orientations to talk about things, you know, the reality is, you know, people start thinking about careers and alumni connections as they start to think about a job search, which is something sometimes they don't think about until the very tail end of their programs. And, you know, it is something that you really should be thinking about early on, because some of the things like networking is going to play a critical role in it. And the more you've built up your network, you know, early on, the better it's going to serve you when that job search really sort of hits full speed after you complete your degree and graduate.
Something I also came to see is also students come in with jobs, they are working or they already have some sort of an employment, but when they go through the program, they realize that their preferences have changed. They learned something more and they want to go towards a different direction. And that's when they want to reach out and learn more about what's out there, what opportunities are available based on the new skills that they have learned, the new degree that they have achieved. So that's also a part of alumni having access to professional development and career services. It's not always getting their first job, but also how to move forward.
Wonderful. Well, thank you to both Matt and Nare for being here. Thank you to those that could attend. I dropped in the chat a few times the handout that we created with all the links that Matt and Nare went through, but also a few others that they didn't go through, as well as their email addresses, so that you can be in contact with them outside of this. And yeah, I think that will conclude our time together. Thank you so much and have a good rest of your Monday. Happy Thanksgiving weekend.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Everyone.
Thank you so much.